guys wanted to conduct business, I'm just keeping track of it for you. I'm not a stock exchange. Very important. We are not a stock exchange, because stock exchanges are regulated by the Securities Exchange Commission, the Act of 1934. That was the Exchange Act. 1933 was the Securities Act. 1934 was the Exchange Act. We are not a stock exchange. We are a trade exchange that just keeps track of when individuals choose of their own freedom of will, their own accord, in their normal course of doing business, they choose to exchange their goods and services with each other. We just keep track for them because, and we do that for a fee, but that's really all we're doing. That's one aspect of what we're doing. So you can look at that, okay, then you guys are like a bank. We are like a bank in that regard. Now, what if we want to help stimulate the economy, our little economy? Because in another regard, we're like a small country with our own currency. What if we want to help things get going? Well, we could. Here's how we could do it. Brewer says, well, you know what, Garland? I have this construction company. Here, look at all the projects I've done. Here's my list of people who are satisfied, my list of customers over the past 20 years. I mean, here's my regular U.S. currency type business. You can see it's in demand that I do well. Yes, Brewer, I can see that. Well, so far I haven't had anyone in the system want my construction services, so I don't have any TROPTIONs to spend. I say, Brewer, that's absolutely right. Here's what we can do. How many TROPTIONs do you want to spend? Well, I want to spend 10,000 TROPTIONs. Okay, Brewer, here's what we'll do. I'm going to loan you 5,000 based on your ability to provide your services in the future, and take cash and buy the other 5,000. I'm going to let you buy 5,000 for cash. That's one scenario. So now Brewer, maybe he wants to get a car from Sophia for his son or daughter. And so he wants to spend $10,000. So I loan him to stimulate the economy. I loan him 5. He buys 5 with cash. Now he has 10. Now he has the ability to transact with Sophia because he has 10,000 TROPTIONs. You with me? You understand? That's one way Brewer could do it. We could loan it. Now, if we're going to loan him something, we're going to have to charge a fee for the transaction, and we're going to charge you some interest, Brewer, because we're making you a loan. We have that right because we're similar to a bank, similar to a small country. Okay, so that's another way that we could do it. Hey, what if Brewer might decide he wanted stock? You know, from Lily, in one of the companies that's available. He might want stock in GTP, and Lily has some stock in GTP, free trading stock. Brewer may not have the TROPTIONs to get it with. So in this situation, maybe we loan him some, maybe he buys some, and maybe Ron says, Brewer, I could use some construction. So he gets 5,000 from Ron, he gets 5,000 from buying some, and he gets 5,000 from us loaning him some. From GTP loaning him the TROPTIONs. Okay, so that's how GTP is like, similar to a bank, similar to a small country, able to stimulate the economy. Now, here's another one. Brewer signs up with GTP and he says, you know what, I want to be ready to take advantage of anything that comes along. I'm going to go ahead and put 10,000 in TROPTIONs right now, because the only way you can buy anything that GTP has, like stock, for example, is using your TROPTIONs. GTP, well, and the clients in GTP that deal through the exchange don't accept cash. They sell what they sell for TROPTIONs. That's the deal. That's the currency, the coin of the realm, TROPTIONs. So it would be smart for someone, if they want to take advantage of any deals happening that clients of GTP would make available, like Lily, she makes available stock, free trading stock, through GTP, and it's for Troptions. Otherwise, GTP won't make it known. We won't list it. Why? Because we're not going to make any money off of a cash deal you do. Our currency is Troptions. We make our fee, even though nominal, off of Troptions. So if you're going to buy things through GTP, your cash or your product or your service has to be converted into Troptions. So let's say you want to get your Troptions in there so that you can take advantage of things as they come up. Maybe there's a special where stock might be available at 2.5 cents. The first 1 million shares might be available at 2.5 cents. Well, by the time you're trying to figure out how to get cash and do all this stuff and then get it in there and turn it, it's already bought by people who already had Troptions in their account. Because it's gone like that. It goes out to the people that have the Troptions and they go, holy smokes, 2.5 cents? I'm in there, I'm done. They get on the computer, like Sean's seeing some of the stuff, well, you know how to do now. Buy it. The next person that gets on, they can't buy it because it's all been bought. It's gone. Now what do they have to do? They have to go on the open market and pay 10 cents for the same share of stock instead of 2.5 cents that they could have got for Troptions. So it behooves people to get their Troptions in there as quickly as possible to be ready. Yes?
You know, this Troptions also is, I'm just in my mind, I'm thinking, how many people have $20,000 in cash? Very few, but when they go and buy a car for $20,000 or $30,000, they don't have $30,000 in cash. They don't go to a dealer and say, I have $30,000 of cash. You know, they might want to try to strike a trade. Cash talks loud, but for the most part, the majority of people will take that. If you had cash, Mark, you don't go to the car dealership. You take this cash and you say, I've got to convert it somewhere. So he goes to his bank. He puts that $30,000 of cash in a bank, and it converts to an ATM card, basically. Then, or a checking account, basically. Then he goes, and that car dealership accepts that little paper transaction or that zip thing, and that's how he buys a car.
Right.
That's how he buys a car. And now, what Troptions are doing is exactly the same thing. Now, if that car dealership is on the Troptions exchange, and Mark comes down there with $30,000 of Troptions, the car dealership says, well, since you belong to the exchange, we'll sell you this car 25,000 Troptions. And
yes, he gets up because he's in a network where all these people that have Troptions can only spend their Troptions directly with someone who accepts them. Then this car dealership has a whole new group of people that potential clients. I mean, yes.
And the reason the car dealership, let's say, is willing to knock $5,000 off in Troptions because Mark knows somebody who the car dealership needs 2 months worth of advertising.
Well,
so Mark says, you know.
Nope. I want to stop you there.
Okay.
Yes, in the old example of barter, but now the car dealership just goes to GTP. And GTP has in the system someone who has, so the net result's the same, but he doesn't have to do all this stuff. He just goes to GTP and says, GTP, I could use $10,000 worth of advertising, billboards for my Troptions here. Do you have anyone who does that? Either we have them or we go get them.
Okay.
Right. So we need to build an inventory of companies
you got it.
that facilitates every need in a person's life.
Bingo. Whether it's business, personal, or investment.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
And now, again, we're not the first trade exchange to ever exist. It was back in 1982. No, 72. 1972. That the IRS said to all these trade exchanges, hey, we're going to regulate you because you guys are using this to avoid paying taxes, to evade paying taxes. The trade exchange industry said, wait a second, don't mess with us. Here's what we'll do. We'll report the transactions. Right. And the IRS said, well, if you'll report the transactions so we can still get our taxes, we don't care what you do. Basically, I mean, that's a
well, the IRS
just but they just want the well, you could be a criminal, you could be Bugsy Siegel, you could be, who was the guy, Al Capone, and if you pay your taxes, right, you can just keep operating, just keep shooting people, killing people, robbing people. I mean, he went down for tax evasion. Right. The IRS trumps the SEC. I'll show you in a moment and read you some things. I'll read it ahead of time so we don't waste the time on the tape, but a non-cash transaction for stock, as long as it's reported, as long as it still goes under this 1099-B form, where the IRS can get its VIG, the SEC considers these non-cash transactions they don't put them under the same regulatory environment as when you spend cash to buy stock. You spend cash to buy stock. Bing, 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 bing. Radar. Okay, what's the deal? How did this happen? Is it a registration? Is it an exemption? What's the deal? But there is no record of any trade exchange. This was as of at least 6 or 7 months ago, where I checked with Harold Rice, who is like the expert in the trade exchange business when it comes to the accounting side of it and dealing with the IRS. No trade exchange has been ever cited or anything for securities violations regarding stock being sold for trade dollars, because it's considered a non-cash transaction. And so they have trouble valuing the transaction because they don't know whether we should value it based on the value of the stock, or should we value it based on the value of what the trade dollars say they are? So they have this whole accounting thing where they just basically go, you know what? Report it, pay us some taxes, forget about it. Yes, and they consider it a small, again, it's because government, hold that thought, Ron, I don't want you to lose it. Because government agencies really don't have the manpower to police every single type of transaction that goes on, they spend their time policing the vast majority of types of transactions and the larger transactions.